In this tutorial, I'll show you how to join, separate, and select meshes and their components. Shift-D to duplicate, and Y to move the duplicated mesh on the Y-axis. Select the first mesh, Shift-D, and Enter. Let's hide the original mesh and use that later. There are a number of ways to join the meshes in Blender, and the easiest method is the Ctrl-J method. Select the first mesh, and Shift-select the second mesh. After that, Ctrl-J to join them. If we move the mesh, they'll move as one. To separate them, we need to Tab to go to Edit Mode, Alt-A to deselect all, hover the mouse on the second mesh, and P to separate by selection. They're now separate. Let's practice the Ctrl-J and P to separate method once again. The second method is parenting. Select the first mesh, and Shift-select the second mesh. Ctrl-P to parent. We can freely move the child mesh, but if we move the parent mesh, the child mesh will move along in the same direction. This is how we separate the objects. The third selection method is via collections. Shift-select both objects, and type M to put them in the same collection like this. Suppose we were doing something else, and we had to select the objects in the same group later. We'd go here, right-click the collection name, and select them. Let's delete the two meshes and unhide the original cube. I'll show you how to use the vertex group to select certain vertices in a mesh. Tab to go to Edit Mode, Alt-A to deselect all, 3 to face select, select the top face, 1 to vertex select, and Ctrl-G to vertex group. Suppose we were doing something else, and we had to select the grouped vertices once again. This has to be in edit mode. We can select and deselect like this. We can also assign multiple groups like this. To remove them, please press the minus button. The last method is selection via materials. We can assign multiple materials in the same object, and we can use select and deselect method in edit mode to make selections. Let's assign the bottom face to the orange material as well. That's how we assign, select, and deselect by using the materials. I'll show you an interesting example that demonstrates that uses the separation method. Basically, I'm adding 3 array modifiers for x, y, and z in order to duplicate and separate them to drop like the real-world boxes. I tried x 25, y 25, and z 25 to duplicate a lot of meshes, but that ended up freezing my Blender. Please use 5, 5, 5 as the x, y, and z count values instead of 25. I don't know if the freezing issue occurred due to my PC's low specs. I'm sure I would have been able to recover if I waited long enough. My idea was to apply the modifiers, rotate them like this, and separate them by loose parts. I'm adding the rigid body here. I'm thinking this may have been the reason why it took so long to calculate. Tab to go to edit mode, A to select all, and P to separate by loose parts. My Blender froze right here, and I had to shut it down after it didn't come back for more than a minute. I'm sure if I have waited long enough, I would have regained the control, but I didn't want to wait. I created a new scene and used x5, y5, and z5 instead. Please always remember to save your work frequently. The ground mesh needs a passive rigid body. If we play the animation, the cubes will drop as one object. Let's apply the modifiers, Tab to go to edit mode, A to select all, and P to separate by loose parts. We must move the origins to the geometry. Let's play the animation. This is the end of the tutorial. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed watching this tutorial. Thank you for watching.